Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to shrink ourselves way, way down to take a journey into the microscopic world that makes all life possible. From the tiniest bacterium all the way up to you. We are, of course, talking about the cell. So let's kick things off with a big question to kind of frame our thinking here. I mean, really look at this. You've got a single-celled organism, a massive tree, and a human being. On the surface, what could they possibly have in common? And the answer? It's actually really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It's the one concept that unites every single living thing on this planet. It all comes down to one thing: the cell. Okay, so let's dive into our first big idea. This concept, known as the cell theory, is pretty much the foundation for all of biology. To put it simply, if something is alive, you can bet it's made of cells. You see, this theory tells us that all life shares these fundamental characteristics. Living things aren't just random blobs of molecules. They're organized. They have to get energy from somewhere to power themselves. And they perform all the essential functions of life, growing, reproducing, right there at the cellular level. Now here's where it gets really cool. Not all cells look the same, not even close. A long, spindly nerve cell looks totally different from a flat skin cell or a contracting muscle cell. And there's a good reason for that. Form follows function. Each cell's unique shape is perfectly adapted to help it do its specific job. So that kind of begs the question, right? How can cells be so different, yet they're all still cells? Well, it's because despite all that incredible variety, every single one is built from the same three core components. It's like a universal blueprint for life. First up, every cell has a gatekeeper. It's called the cell membrane. You can think of it like a bouncer at a club. It's super selective about what it lets in and what it kicks out, all to protect the special environment inside. All right, so once you get past that membrane, you're inside the cytoplasm. This is the jelly-like stuff that fills the entire cell. It's where all the action happens. Think of it as the main factory floor where all the cell's machinery is hard at work. And third, every cell has a control center. And that, of course, is its DNA. This is the master blueprint, the software code that has all the instructions for everything the cell is and everything it needs to do. It really is the instruction manual for life itself. Now check this out. It's how a cell stores that precious DNA blueprint that creates the first huge split in the tree of life. It separates all cells into two major categories. And this table just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have prokaryotic cells, like bacteria. They're simpler, smaller, and their DNA just kind of floats around freely inside. Then you have eukaryotic cells, the stuff that makes up plants, animals, you, and me. These are way more complex, and they keep their DNA tucked away safely inside a special compartment called the nucleus. Okay, so now that we've made that distinction, let's zoom in and take a tour inside one of those more complex eukaryotic cells. We're going to meet all the specialized little structures that make it tick. These internal structures are called organelles, which literally means little organs. And honestly, the best way to think about the whole cell is like a tiny bustling factory. It's got all these different departments, and each organelle has a very specific job to do. So in our factory, the most obvious building is going to be the main office, the command center. That's the nucleus. This is where the precious DNA blueprints are stored and protected, and it's where all the big decisions for the cell are made. Of course, a factory needs power, right? Well, that's where the mitochondria come in. These are the power plants. They take in fuel, like sugar, and convert it into pure, usable energy. Without them, the whole factory would grind to a halt. And you can't have a factory without workers on the assembly line, right? That's the job of the ribosomes. These little guys take the instructions sent out from the nucleus and use them to build proteins, which are the actual machines and structures the cell needs. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Even within this big family of eukaryotic cells, there are some really important variations. The most famous differences are between the cells that make up plants and the ones that make up animals. And here's the key takeaway. They share a lot of the same basic machinery, like the nucleus and mitochondria, but each type has its own unique set of tools perfectly suited for its specific lifestyle. Animal cells have things like lysosomes for recycling, while plant cells have a totally different set of equipment. Take plants, for instance. They've got this super tough, rigid cell wall on the outside of their membrane. It's made of cellulose. Yeah, the same stuff in wood and paper. And it gives them the structural support to stand up tall.
Animal cells need to be flexible, so they just don't have this.
Okay, so let's zoom back out. We've seen how individual cells work, but how do we get from one single cell to a massively complex organism, like a person or a giant redwood tree? Well, it's all about organization.
This shows you the incredible hierarchy. It all starts with a basic unit, the cell. Then, similar cells team up to form tissues, like muscle tissue. Different tissues work together to create organs, like your heart. Organs join forces in organ systems. And finally, all those systems come together to make the complete organism, you.
And the only reason this whole amazing structure works is because of something called cell specialization. This is the process where cells basically choose a career. A nerve cell becomes an expert at sending signals, a muscle cell becomes an expert at contracting. Each one gets really, really good at doing just one particular job. And that leads us to our final, and maybe most mind-bending thought. If every single cell in your body, from your brain to your big toe, has the exact same DNA instruction manual, how in the world does one cell know to become a nerve cell, while another one reads a different chapter and becomes a muscle cell? Well, that question, that opens up a whole new world of genetics and gene expression, which is an incredible story for another time.